All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Mark Witten. I got Alex Coleman sitting right here next to me, and I know everybody's excited. I know everybody's been anticipating this training for the night. And what's going on? I see y'all hitting me up. What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? What up? What up? What up? Let me ask y'all this before we get started, man. Who ready to win this $50,000 tonight? Because somebody's life going to change. I'm ready, man, and I can't wait to see who going to get it. And actually, I didn't tell everybody this yet, but what I'm going to do is whoever wins the money, I'm gonna bring it to you personally. Take you out to dinner and bring you the check personally, and that's going to be early next week. So. I would send it like PayPal or stuff like that, but like I usually would do. But this is way too much money to do it like that. So I got to come give you a check, you know what I'm saying? I take it out, then we chop it up. And yeah, so probably like Monday, Tuesday next week, or maybe even sooner. I'm going to check the flights tonight or whoever win it, if I got to catch a flight. But I just want to let y'all know that, it's for real and it's going to happen. So anyway, got a really good special presentation for you guys tonight and ladies. We are going to be teaching you how to build wealth with real estate and how to flip houses, with no money down and no credit check. But we're also going to talk to you about getting financing, getting funding, and stuff like that, to do your deals. So it's three topics to cover. The first topic is the landlording, which everyone has already because I sent you all the training. Everybody has the landlord training already. So that's good. Tonight we're going to talk about, wait a minute, hold on one second, everybody. Hold on one second, everybody. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry, everybody. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure this little system out real fast. Real quick. Can everybody hear me? Just if you can hear me clearly, just say yes. Just type yes. All right, good. Everybody can hear me. Good. All right, cool. So let me get back to what I was saying. All right. So yeah. So that's what we're gonna cover. Somebody said that they didn't get the landlord training. You should have got it in the email when you signed up. If you didn't, just make sure that you send an email to my customer service team and let them know that you didn't get the landlord training, and we'll make sure we'll get that over to you right away. All right. So let me see if there's any more announcements I want to make before we get started. I'm gonna need this training tonight is probably gonna be like around 2 to 3 hours. So just make sure that you got some water, notepad, stuff like that. Be ready to really take some good notes. All right. So I think that's pretty much it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right. All right. So what I want to do is first I'm gonna introduce my partner Alex Coleman. He's sitting here right next to me, and Alex he's a phenomenal guy. Personally and in business, he's a great guy to work with. He's a great coach. He loves helping people, and more importantly, or just as equally as important, the guy is a beast when it comes to real estate investing. He's bought and renovated and sold over 100 houses. He's also a licensed contractor, all right? So he knows how to run a whole crew, to get these houses done from start to finish. He's also a landlord, so, he buys houses and, fixes them up and rent them out as well. And he's been in the game for over 10 years, all right? And he's also a no money down, no credit check deal expert, which you're going to learn all about tonight. And he's also a real estate coach. And one more thing, too, before we get started, I wanted to let y'all know, because a lot of people have been emailing me and DMing me about coaching. Are we going to do some coaching? Mark, are you going to be doing some coaching? Well, Alex and I partnered up to do some coaching, some 6-month coaching for everybody that's going to be on the call tonight. So just hang tight, because we're going to let y'all know how y'all can work with us every week for the next 6 months to help you accelerate your real estate investing business. All right, so you don't want to miss that. Let me see what else can I say. Yeah, just overall, just a great guy, great personally, great business. He gets the job done, and he's got some really good information to share with you all tonight. So the structure of what we're going to do tonight is Alex is going to talk about how you can get out here and buy and renovate these houses and resell them. That's his main expertise, what he does. Like I said, he's also a general contractor, so he knows renovations from top to bottom, and you're going to learn a lot about that tonight. Once Alex is done with his presentation on how to get out here and fix and flip like you see on the HGTV shows. I'm going to talk about wholesaling. I'm going to talk a little bit about some landlording that I do as well, and I'm going to teach you how to start your business from scratch. So when you get off this webinar tonight, you're gonna have a foolproof game plan on how to go out right away and get your real estate business started. And if you choose to wholesale, then you can wholesale. And if you choose to, get out here and fix them yourself and flip them like how Alex does, he's going to give you that information now. So just keep in mind, take good notes, pay really close attention. All right, he's going to give you the game on that. And then once he's done, I'm going to take you from start to finish on how to get your business started, how to find the deals, how to do the contracts. I'm going to walk you through the contracts. I'm going to do all that good stuff. So that way you'll know exactly what to do when it's time for you to get out here and start, buying and renovating houses if that's what you want to do. So I'm not going to take much more time. Like I said, we got a lot of information to cover tonight. And even more importantly, we got a $50,000 drawing at the end of this call. Somebody's life's gonna change. So with that being said, I'm gonna bring Alex on. Alex, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So you just wanna that'll change it. Yeah. All right.
Oh man, how y'all doing? So again, my name is Alex Coleman. Today I will be talking to you guys about the renovation side of the business. So this picture here that we're starting with is a house that I purchased back in December. I sold it in May. So to give you guys a little background on this deal, it was a deal that I used none of my own cash on. A guy I work with found this property. He came to me and said, "Hey man, can you take a look at this property? Would you be interested in partnering with me?" I'm like, cool. So he put up the money for us to get the loan to do the property. Of course, I did the renovation part of it, and we split the profit. So I want to start off jumping right into that, so you guys can I don't want you thinking that, hey, this is something you can't do or it's impossible. It's something that I started doing around 2010, and the more experience you get doing it, the more opportunities you'll get, and more people come and ask you if you wanna, do deals, and they'll put up the money. So that was the after picture. Here's the close and the settlement statement. As you can see, the profit down here. Some of that was money that we put into it. We made a little over $120,000. We split that 50-50. So each of us walked away with a little over $60,000 on the project. Again, I did this without using my own money or my own credit. And you guys see? Somebody said they couldn't see. Somebody said I can't see anything.
That's just because it's small.
Oh, okay.
We just send them a copy.
Got you.
Just let them know we'll email.
Mark email you guys a copy. All right, let's talk a little bit more about how you can get involved in doing this business with none of your cash, none of your credit on the fix and flip side of things, right? So the thing to remember, a lot of times people are like, oh, you can't do this without money, you can't do that money. You can do any business without money if you get someone who believes in you and the idea, and also the return that you provide justifies the risk. So in any business that you want to get in, whether you want to open up a restaurant or do real estate, it's all about risk and reward. It's somebody out here who has money that they're willing to invest in a business if they believe that for the risk they're taking with their money, the reward justifies it. So the good thing about real estate is that it's already a proven investment. Like the risk in real estate is just two things. It's the market risk, and it's the risk that the personal investor brings to the table. So the market risk is what you can't control. The market risk is the risk that all real estate investors faces. Will there be a slowdown in the market? Will prices decrease? Will there be a recession? Will interest rates go up? We're all affected by that in the same way. Whether I'm doing a house or you're doing a house, the risk there is the same for everybody. So as a new investor, you will be more risky to as a new investor, you will be more risky to someone who's investing their money. So the thing is like you have to figure out ways to offset that risk and make it so, the idea of investing with you is more beneficial to that person than it is to invest with somebody like me. So I'm going to show you guys like how I started doing that and where it's a good starting point in order to get people to invest, and why those same people would choose to invest with you over investing with me. So if you look at this example, I have a scenario A and scenario B. So scenario A is a new investor. So when I was a new investor, like the first deal that I did with like somebody who was putting up all the money, this guy came to me. He had about $40,000. He's like, hey man, I have $40,000. How about we find a property, you fix it up, we split the profit. Now, it wasn't a house that we purchased for $40,000 and fixed it up. We used his $40,000 to acquire a hard money loan, and from that hard money loan, we So from that hard money loan, we went ahead and we used that money to cover like the payments, the interest payments, the closing costs, and to start the work, which I'll talk about a little bit more. So that's scenario A, where you're a new investor, somebody has $40,000, you're like, whether it's friends or family, or like some people have like $40,000 in their IRA, and I'll talk about ways to find these people. And you're like, hey, you put up your money, I'll do the work, and we split the profit. So in this scenario, $40,000 is the investment. It's a $25,000 profit. I get $12,500. The investor gets back $12,500. That's a 31% return on their money, and typically 6 to 8 months. 6 to 8 months is between the time you buy it and the time you sell it. Now, say that same investor came to a seasoned investor like myself, or somebody who's been in the business for a while. Again, remember that everything is risk reward. So the lower the risk is, and I see myself as being less risky because now I have more of a proven track record than a new investor. So the reward will go down. So if that same person came to me with $40,000 and they wanted to invest, I would offer them around, normally most investors pay between 8 and 12% annually, or $400 a month they would get on their interest for their $40,000. So as a investor or somebody who has money to invest, it's like, okay, I can give $40,000 to this new investor, and I can make back $12,500 in 6 to 8 months, or I can give it to somebody like Alex if he'll take it for a year, and I'll get back $400 a month, or $4,800 in a year. So in 2 years with you, they would do 3 houses, assuming you do a house every 8 months. That's $37,500. Versus with me, they'll get $9,600, which is a big difference. So the key of this is that you want to educate yourself to a point where when you're having these discussions with people who could potentially invest money, you know enough where they're like, okay, yeah, maybe he hasn't done a bunch of properties, but he seems to know what he's talking about. And I'll discuss more about like things to kind of help build your credibility so that you look more attractive to potential investors. So again, just remember that risk versus reward, and that's how you get these people. And typically, I feel like the best investors early on are people that don't have a lot of money, because like once somebody is putting up a couple $100,000 or something like that, it becomes a little more difficult because their return won't be as great. Like right now on their $40,000, it's a 31% return. So as they invest more, that return will diminish. So you just want to make sure like you're not being greedy. And remember that the main objective is to develop a track record of success. The more successful projects you do, the more successful projects you do, the less you'll have to pay for money, the less risky you're seen to an investor, and so the better offers you'll get. So out the gate, it's okay to give up half if you have to, just to get enough to get a project. And then eventually you'll move away from that, and you'll accept. You'll want more and more from an investor. So then $40,000, eventually you'll be like, okay, I'll give you 8% a year on your money. But initially you just want to get going, just get going. So let me go to the next slide. So again, what I do is like a 50-50. What I suggest, a 50-50 profit split after all the expenses. That means like closing costs, they'll make the monthly payments, pay for the insurance, upfront drawer costs, which I can talk about now, but I'll talk about again. So upfront drawer costs is like when you go to a hard money lender to get a loan, you come up with a schedule of work, and Marcus sent you guys a draw schedule, you come up with a schedule of work, and it'll say like, okay, I'm starting a house, I'll do demo, framing, that'll be draw one. And then, so what happens is that money for that first draw is put up by the investor initially. And then once the work is done, then you call your lender out. Your lender inspects the work and writes a check. So upfront draw costs will also be a part of that. So that $40,000 will cover like the utilities, everything. So you should permit, so you shouldn't have to come out of your pocket with anything. Your sweat equity and you managing the project is what you bring to the project. So how I usually structure this through like an LLC with like an operating agreement outlining a partnership. So I'll give you guys an example. And literally, I'm telling you, like if you like in a place where you don't have a lot and like all you have really to put forth a lot of times is like your equity and you're willing to like go out and manage the project and do the work, like the opportunity is great. So like for me, I was looking to buy rentals, but I'm like, all the money I'm making from renovations, I was pretty much still wanting to dump back into renovations. And I had a lender who was lending me money for renovations, and he was buying rentals. So he's like, hey man, if you want to buy rentals, I'll put up the money, you fix them up, and then we'll like refinance them and split them 50-50. So it's like as many rentals as I can acquire, I don't have to worry about putting the money up for. And not only that, it's like I don't have to worry about getting to a point where I go to a bank, or like sometimes an investor will go to the bank, and after they hit a certain amount of rentals, maybe 5 or 8 or whatever number that is, it becomes more and more difficult, and the bank requires more and more. So it's like I have a money partner who's willing to do that just because I'm able to manage the work. So it's like it's a true skill that you can make money off of, like for a long time coming, if you are willing to just like learn how to manage projects. So I kind of got sidetracked, but to get back to what I was saying. So him and I have a partnership. It's structured through an LLC. We created an LLC to buy rentals in. And in that company, we have an operating agreement. The operating agreement pretty much states how the business is divided. So, it says like, hey, we're both 50-50 partners in this business. So the operating agreement is just a supplement to the actual LLC. Sometimes people do joint ventures agreements for like one property, like, hey, we're buying 123 Main Street. This is how the profits from this deal are divided. Like I put up $40,000, after that's recovered, we are splitting the profit 50-50. So that's a joint venture agreement. A lot of people use that on one property or property by property. And also a promissory note. So I won't dig too deep into it, but a promissory note is one of those things that I've signed before because I know that I'm going to finish the project, but it will be up to you if you want to do a promissory note for that person. Now, essentially it says, okay, if this person put up $40,000 and for whatever reason this project doesn't sell or I can't get my money back, then I would owe that investor $40,000. Again, I have done it before. I have had investors ask me for them, but it kind of like how I was talking about risk and reward. It's like if I'm giving you a 30% return on your investment in 6 to 8 months, then I mean it should be somewhat risky. So if I am going to reimburse you the money that you put up, should this not work right, I'm kind of like on the fence how I feel about that. Again, I'm saying I have done it before because I know I'm going to finish the project, but it is something that if you're working with an investor, you should be aware of. So where do I find these people at, or where have I found these people? So they've been friends, more than friends. I mean, more than family. I would say like a few friends, people that I've met along the way. But again, like the situation I come from, I don't know many friends that just have like 40,000 or so that they could put up at that point in time. So my first investor was like another real estate professional. He was a realtor and he wanted to invest and he had some money to invest. So that's like the guy who I worked with first was a realtor. And also I work with hard money lenders. Like I'll have a hard money lender relationship. Like say my realtor and I go to a hard money lender. I'm borrowing the money from the hard money lender, whatever. We're doing this project. And like the first project I did, I ran through it like quick, like every day I'm there. We get in and out in like a few weeks. The lender's like, shit, like this was fast. Like, man, the work looks good. You got in and out. He was like, hey, man, would you be open to, like, you and I doing some projects together? Like, I'll put up the money. It was like I'm like, damn. She's like the second, he just comes out. No, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So he had some properties that he was taking back from other investors. And he's like, okay, I have this property, this property, this property. Just tell me how much they cost to fix up. I'll tell you how much I'm in every property for that I had to foreclose on or take back, and we can figure out what they'll sell for, and as long as it's profitable and you're okay with it, like I'll put up the money, you do the work. So him and I did that for a few times. So hard money lenders can also be a source. Like you gotta think, for a hard money lender, they get paid off of time. So they are looking at like what makes more sense. Is it more valuable to them to lend you the money, or would they make more money if they were to partner with you? Again, now this is not something that's probably going to happen on the first time. What will probably happen first is that you'll find somebody to borrow hard money from. And then once you find somebody to borrow hard money from, it's times where that hard money lender will then approach you and ask you if you want to do other things, if you are like a quick, good customer. So also I put investors on here. You guys should go to like your RIA meetings, like your local RIA meetings. A lot of times, if you go to a RIA meeting, you'll find people who are there that like they have money, but they don't know like where to start at. They're like, yeah, I have some money, but I don't really know like what I want to do with it. I have some money, but I don't know what to do with it. And in Baltimore, not only do we have RIA meetings with this, but they have an IRA meeting. An IRA meeting is where people have like, people who work have like IRAs and they have like their retirement accounts and things like that. So a lot of times those people can then roll money from their retirement account into a self-directed IRA and then lend it for real estate. So like in Baltimore, they have specific meetings geared to people who have IRAs or have money and retirement accounts that they're looking to roll into a self-directed IRA to lend for real estate. So you go to those kind of meetings as well and talk to people there. Now, I'll say this here. The thing about it is like I'm telling you guys, the key is like to work on, like your education part of it, to get an understanding of what you're talking about, to get an understanding of like the places you want to work in. It's like the more knowledgeable you can sound on the subject and the more confidence you exude and the more clear and concise you come across, the more likely it is that, people are willing to invest. So That's very important. So like I said, I'll talk about creating credibility. And one is knowledge. Like knowledge is a big part of it. Like I said, what areas do you want to, knowing like what areas you want to invest in and why. Who's going to do the work? Who's going to sell it? So imagine that tomorrow somebody comes up to you and they have millions of dollars they want to invest. It's like, are you prepared to answer the key core questions that somebody want to know the answers to in order to lend you their money? You know what I mean? So the first thing is like to get prepared for that situation. So, you know, before you even go to like these meetings or anything to meet anybody, like, you know how they say like luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. It's like you have to prepare. Even for luck, you have to be prepared. So if this is like something you really want to do and you want to commit to, then it's like preparation is going to be a key part of it. You know, it's like you can't just say like, well, I don't know anybody with money, so I'm not going to be prepared. Like the more you know, like, and also another thing I listed as credibility is like when you build this team of people around you, you know, kind of lean on their experience and the things that they've done in order to make yourself more credible. So when you're finding your investors, whether, you know, it's friends or it's family, and like say you and a few of your friends are putting together money and they're like, or not you, but let's say you and your friends are gathering as like an LLC to buy a property and you're going to manage the property throughout the project, you know, and they're like, well, you haven't done anything. You know, you find people who have. So you find an experienced contractor. Like, hey, well, my contractor's been doing this for 15 years. You know, he's done this house, this house, this house. Like, I've checked his work. You know, I've seen what he done. The realtor who's finding us properties and going to sell this stuff for us has, you know, sold 100 houses last year, and you know she's a top 5 realtor. It's like you try to mitigate some of your riskiness with the experience of the people that you're surrounding yourself with. It's just like when somebody is going into a new business venture, it's like they surround themselves with people who are very knowledgeable about that business, even if they themselves aren't. Like that's how they learn. So that's how you guys will learn, and that's how you'll mitigate some of the risks that, you know, will come upon you for being a new investor. I mean, at some point, we're all new investors. At some point, we all really knew nothing. It's just, again, doing your best to mitigate the risk and make the idea of the reward seem greater than the risk that the person is taking, which is, again, the personal risk side, because like I said, we all deal with the risk of the market. So I'll jump into financing. So again, like I was saying, in the example where somebody's putting up $40,000, I'm not saying, okay, you're going to buy a house, fix it up, and you're only going to be in it $40,000, and then you're going to sell it and make $25,000. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that typically the way it will work is somebody will have $35,000, $40,000. You'll probably come out with a property that's worth around $170,000 or so when it's done. And you will do that through getting a hard money loan. That $40,000 will be what's used to cover all the costs during the process, from the acquisition to the sale of the property. Like I said, it'll cover the initial costs, points that are required in closing costs. It'll cover the monthly payments and the first construction draw. And, you know, like any taxes, any insurance and stuff like that, that'll come along the way. So typically hard money lenders lend on just investment property, right? They normally charge 12 to 15% interest and 1 to 3 points. And the loans are typically interest only. A point is 1% of a loan, right? So let's just use the example of a $100,000 loan. It has 12%, 2 points. So that'll be $1,000 a month for the payment, and the points are $2,000 because the points are, again, 1% of the loan. The usual term a hard money lender will give you is about, they'll normally do like 9 to 12 months. I've seen both. And typically, if you go over that, then they'll charge you. So like the rate will increase, or they may add a point. So from purchase to sale, they normally give you between 9 and 12 months. So then it may change from like, it may be 13, it may go up to 13%. And then at 12, if a lender has a 9-month loan, it may go up to 13% after the 9th month. And then maybe after the 12th month, it goes up again. Or it could be 2 points to start, and then after 9 months, it might be an additional point, or after 12 months. So you want to ask the lender what is the term of the loan that they give. And normally with hard money loans, you make payments every month. When you come to settlement, you normally pay closing costs and you pay points. Some lenders will also front load some of the payments. So you want to ask them like, okay, so what are your terms? Like, what are your points and interest? How long is the loan? And also, this is very, very important. I would say that when you guys are like talking to hard money lenders or talking to people, it's very important. Like for me, I only want to work with hard money lenders that like have an interest in seeing me succeed, right? So, and I feel like this about the business in general, and like you'll probably hear me say like how I feel, or like a feeling that I get from a person, or things like that. I rely a lot on that. Just like me personally, I care about like how people are and how they like interact. And so for me, for a hard money lender, I look at the rates, I look at the point. It has to be reasonable to me. But I'm just as concerned with like the kind of person that I'm dealing with, because in the time I've been doing this, lenders have been very, very instrumental in like my ability to grow. Not just from the money point of view. Like I would say that I had one lender who I never met, and I borrowed from him twice, and I just didn't like it. I mean, they paid the money on time, they paid the drawers on time, did inspections on time, but like the lenders that I work with are like people who are like, hey, come out, let's have lunch, let's talk, like what's going on with your business? Like they are mentors as well. So it's like not only am I borrowing money from them, but at the same time they like mentor me and they teach me, and I learn a ton. Like most of them have been in the business 20, 30 years. And so I think that, it's very important that when you're looking for somebody to work with, not only are you looking for somebody who will provide you capital, but you're also looking for somebody who will kind of guide you. And especially on like your first deals, because that person also will act as a buffer in between like you potentially making a bad decision. Like you bring them a property and you're like, hey, I'm buying this house and I think it needs $15,000 or something, and they're like, well, what are you doing? You give them your scope of work, and they're like, oh, there's no way you're going to get this done for that. So you want like good people around you, and that's in all aspects of this business. But yeah, that's hard money. So next is private money. Private money is typically like an individual who's investing their own capital, like maybe they have a line of credit or something like that, but it's normally not as organized, or maybe they only, like I have a guy, he only lends to like, me and I think one other person. And their rates are typically a little lower and their terms are a little more flexible. So a private money lender is normally going to be between 8 and 12%. And I would say 0 and 2 points. So as I said, with hard money, a lot of times you are paying payments every month. When you come to close, a lot of times you're paying points. With a private money lender, it's a lot more flexible. Like some, you don't make any payments until the house is sold, or you may come to closing and pay nothing. Again, I mentioned that when you use a hard money lender, you have a draw schedule and you're reimbursed for the work that's completed. After it's done, they come out and they'll come out and take a look at the property and reimburse you for whatever work you've done. Sometimes with private money, it's different. They may give you money to start the work. So private money, again, is just like the individual who I mentioned who may have $40,000, but maybe instead of 40, this guy has 300. Or 200. So you don't need to use hard money. That person would finance the entire transaction, and then that person would then become the mortgagee of the property. So when you go to settlement, like Mark will talk about the whole process of getting a settlement and dealing with title company. But when you go to the title company, instead of it being a loan from a hard money lender, the loan would come from your private money lender, and you would sign a promissory note. That private money lender is essentially the bank. The same as if you would go to a Bank of America and get a mortgage loan. That lender would be the bank on the transaction. So I am not going to jump too deep into the ARV part of things as far as about like the 65 to 70%, because I know that Mark is going to cover that on his part. But I will talk about comps a little bit. So, excuse me, I had to get some more water. So one thing that's very important about comps, I'll ask my realtor. So let's say I got a lead on a property. I'm going to see a property. I'll ask my realtor to pull comps. I normally ask him for shell comps, ARV comps, or after repair value. So my shell comps are like what I look at to just get a gauge on like what other investors are paying for like similar properties to what I'm purchasing. And then my after repair value comps are what I spend more time on. I tell him to send me one where I can actually go through and take a look at the pictures. So I go through, I take a look at the pictures. I want to see exactly what other investors are doing to get the price that I want to get, which is whatever the top of the market is in that particular area. So I want to know, like, you know, are they redoing the whole house? Are they opening it up? Are they opening up the floor plan? Are they finishing the basement? Like, all the mechanicals new, like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, are they new? So I use their pictures and their price to figure out what my scope of work needs to be in order to kind of achieve that highest price. So if I'm working in a neighborhood where, let's just say, nobody's finishing basements, then I know that if I want to get the price that somebody else has gotten, then I don't need to finish the basement. You know, so it's very important to take a look at the comps and look through the pictures to get an idea of exactly, you know, like what you guys need to do in order to achieve that price. So then I develop a scope of work. I go through and repair and look at the repairs, and then I estimate the cost. So I put light renovation here because my suggestion to new people who are rehabbing, again, it's back to like risk, reward kind of thing. Obviously, if you are doing a full gut renovation, the reward should be greater because the risk is greater. It's more work to do. But starting off, I suggest that you guys do a lighter renovation, what I consider to be more of a cosmetic renovation, like kitchen, bathroom, flooring, paint, and kind of stay away from the total gut renovations. And then like slowly elevate as you go through like a few houses. You learn a little more. Because remember, like, especially when you're getting started, like the goal is to get a good track record going, learn, and be in the game, like be around. You know, it's like not to rush and just jump too deep in and get stuck on a project where, you know, it's just overwhelming. So start light and then move up. Start with lighter renovations and then move up. So this is the part also where I normally complete my draw schedule. Like if I go out and look at a property, I put it under contract, I'll complete my draw schedule, which you guys got, and I'll show you in the next slide how to use it. I complete my draw schedule and I send it to like my lender. And this is around the time of closing. So you want to get like builder's risk insurance, limited liability, and like transfer your utility. So most lenders will require you to get a builder's risk policy. It's the insurance policy that you'll carry while you're working on that house, and it protects it, you know, against what it says like builder's risk. So, all right, let's jump into this next slide. So, this is the draw schedule that I use. Like so when you are working with a lender, or even if you're working with a private money lender, whoever you're working with, most will want some kind of draw schedule. So a draw schedule essentially will outline the work that's being done, the cost of the work, and when that work is being completed, like as far as in the process, right? So I kind of like line these things up. They're kind of like sequential as to the way that I typically do things, so you guys don't have to move a ton around. I mean, you may change like a few items here or there, but it's kind of like the order from beginning to end that you'll work on the project, right? So let's just say I'm doing like masonry work, right? I will put an amount here. So let's just say it's $1,000. It'll go here. You put drawer one here. And then whatever amount you put here will populate over into this category over here. And then you would write a description like, point up brick wall in the front. So I put the description here. This amount here will populate over into this section. And then wherever you do that, like say it's drawer one, you will put that amount here, $1,000. And then it'll come over here and it'll subtract that from this balance. So you just go down and do the same thing. Like, okay, permits and drawings is $500, and it's drawer two, it'll still be drawer one more than likely. You'll put drawer one here, and then it'll populate over into this balance section. And then once you do it, you put that up, you put that amount in there. Like if you're tracking your expenses, you put that amount in there, and then it subtract. Or once you get the draw for that, it'll come off of this. Make sense? And then also at the bottom, it'll be the total for the entire job. And then as you receive your draws along the way, so let's just say your first draw is like $8,000. Say your whole job is $50,000. And then you get $8,000 here. It'll take that off and subtract it, so you know how much you have left for the next draw. All right, so I don't know if there's anything else about the draw schedule. Let me see. So normally, while we're talking about draw schedules, normally most hard money lenders, it depends on the amount. It'll vary. Some want 4 draws, some will do 5. So the thing is like, if you know how much money you have for that part of it, then you want to make sure that you talk to that hard money lender about that. So let me explain what I'm saying. Like, say you have an investor who has $40,000. After all of the expenses and things are covered for settlement, let's say you have $10,000 left to start the work with. Now, let's also assume that you have, let's say you have $40,000 renovation, and the hard money lender is like, hey, I want to just do 3 draws. 3 draws means it's a little more than $15,000 each. You only have 10. You want to tell them like, no, I need to do 4 draws. And what they'll do is they're going to charge you for those draw inspections anyway. So they typically charge you like $150 for each draw inspection. That means every time they have to come out to inspect the work that you've done, they're going to charge you $150. So just make sure that because they don't really want to do it to them. I mean, it's not a good use of their time. So a lot of times they'll want to do as few draws as possible. But if it doesn't work for you and for the money that you have to start that job, then make sure that you are, transparent and say like, hey, I need to do this in 4 draws. Not 3. So that you're not like at a place where you can't quite finish the work to get to that first draw. And also, most lenders are somewhat flexible. Like, let's just say you have demo, framing, permits, and like your roof on the first draw, or your exterior doors, and you can only get like 3 of those things done. You can't get all 4 done. You fall a little short. Like, you can still call them out and say, hey, well, I've done this, and that. I'd like to get a draw for that. that happens. I mean, sometimes you run over or what have you, and you're like, all right, well, I need to call you out a little sooner than what I thought. I'm not quite 100% finished with this draw, but I have finished this, these 3 or 4 things. So permits. So permits and inspections. Permits, love-hate kind of thing, right? So what will happen is you'll meet a lot of contractors, and they're going to be like, look, man, don't worry about no permits, man. It takes too much time. It's a waste, man. I got to charge you more. I got to do this. I got to do that. I still hear it all the time. Like, on my jobs that are not total renovations, like, my guys still say the same, like, nah, man, man, why are you pulling permits? It's going to happen, I'm telling you. But the thing of it is like, especially when you're starting, like, you want to pull a permit, because depending on what area you're in, or what area, and you can find out like what part of the scope of work you need to get inspections for. But here in, like, let's say Baltimore City, and I'll show you guys this on when we get a little further, but it's like several inspections along the way. It's like framing, it's plumbing, electrical, HVAC, it's insulation. So it's like all these inspections along the way where it's kind of like checks and balances to make sure that the work is done right. Because, like, now, like, my guys, I've worked with them for a while. Obviously, I've been doing it for a while, so I have an idea of, like, what the right plumbing looks like or what the right electric looks like, HVAC. But again, I'm not an electrical inspector. I'm not a plumbing inspector or HVAC inspector. So, for the additional money to make sure it's done right is worth it. Like, because you don't, like, want to cut corners and you don't know right from wrong. So be careful with that, because a lot of contractors will be like, hey, man, do you really need to pull a permit for this? So you need to be aware of what you need permits for and inspections for. Like, don't just leave that up to them to tell you that you don't. Like, do your own due diligence and see before the project starts what you need inspections for and what you don't. I like to meet the inspector there when I can. I really, for no particular reason, I like to just ask questions, and I like to just listen. I mean, you'll learn so much from just asking questions and just listening. So you got to figure an inspector, somebody who a lot of them been on the job for a while. They like maybe had this, like I meet a plumbing inspector. A lot of times they had a plumbing business at some point. And they just, they like to talk. They're nice people for the most part. They like to talk about like what's wrong, what's right. And I've just learned a lot from that. Again, that's a choice, but it's something that I have done when I have free time. I try not to do it as much now, but it's definitely something that I would suggest that if you have time to do it. So I put use inspections as payment milestones. Now I'll talk about more like payments and draw scheduling things with contractors. But for mechanicals especially, like here in Baltimore, they do a rough-in inspection and they do a final inspection. So the way I usually pay my mechanical guys, because they have to, so like an HVAC guy, he will rough in the ductwork and get an inspection, and then he has to come back and put in like the furnace and the AC and the vents at the end. Or the plumber, he'll rough in like the plumbing for the toilet, the plumbing for the sinks and the vanities, but he has to come back to put in like the faucets, the toilets, the water heater, and the electrician. He roughs in the wires, but he has to come back to put in like all the lights and all the switches and plates. So the way I pay them is I give them a third to start the work, I give them a third after they finish the rough-in inspection, and I give them the final third once they pass the final inspection. So they have 2 inspections. They have one rough-in and they have one final. So I pay them a third to start before they start when we agree on a price, and then I pay them a third after the rough-in inspection, which is when the inspector comes out and says, yeah, you passed. They give them like a note card saying that they passed. And then I pay them a third after they do the final inspection. They get something saying that they're final. has been approved and been signed off on. So I give them the final third at that point. So this is probably the most important part of starting when you're at this point of doing your first house. Most of the mistakes I see, and most of the people that reach out to me that are in trouble, is surrounding contractors. Like, that is the hardest part, I would say. Like, finding and working with the right people and managing them in the right way where you can get as much productivity out of them as possible. So, all right. Contractors. First and foremost, and to me, this is across any business. It's not just real estate. It's anything. It's like anybody who's passionate about what they do, in my opinion, tends to do it better or give more of an effort than somebody who's not. Contracting is no different, right? So it's a lot of people out there who they don't want to be contractors, right? Like they wanted to do other things, but contracting is just like their last resort. It's where they ended up at. So when you are starting, for numerous reasons, it's very important to find somebody who's passionate and love what they do. One, passionate people love to talk about what they do. Like me, I'm not super social about like many subjects, but if we're talking about real estate or houses or renovations, like I can talk for hours, but if you're talking to me about like sports or cars or whatever, like I'm just not really that interested in those things. So I don't talk about them a lot. But so that's what I mean. Like my first house, I did not do a good job of picking a contractor, right? So I don't know if some of you probably read it, but I brought a house with a friend of mine, $5,000 house, and I hired a crackhead to fix it. Like he told me, like, hey man, I went and go look at this house. Here's the address. Go look at this house. Here's the address. And I went. He's like, you can't get inside, but you. I know, sounds crazy. He's like, you can't get inside, but you can look through the window. So I go, I look, I'm like, man, good, it looked like good work. I didn't know any better. I hired this guy, and I was giving him money. I didn't know anything about like the process of a renovation. I paid him like $5,000 to get started, and then I gave him like another $5,000. It was a house that actually I purchased with like a good friend of mine, and my good friend, he knew construction. He was just busy, and I was telling him I didn't feel like waiting, and I wanted to get started. I was tired of waiting on him. And he came, he was like, man, what the hell is going on? Like, this shit is wrong. He fired the guy. And I felt horrible. Like, I lost my friend's money. I lost my money. And the house sat like that until we like finally just sold it like a few years later. But I didn't know that then, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me at that time. I was like way too confident in my ability to like manage a project, and I knew absolutely nothing about it. And so like I lost, but like I was fortunate. Like I meet a lot of people reach out to me, and they're in a situation where like they're so far back on a project that they can't really get out of it. Like for me, I was fortunate. It was a $5,000 house, so we didn't have a loan on it. But if it was like a house that I had a loan on and I did that, like I don't know that I would have been able to get out of it at that point. Like I may not even be having this conversation now or be on this webinar. So I'm glad that it happened. I was very fortunate that happened. It taught me a big lesson that I'm able to share with you guys and hopefully help somebody else prevent from making the same mistakes. But to get back to what I was saying, like it's just very important to get people that are passionate, because like if somebody is passionate about what they do, even if you don't know it's wrong and they know it's wrong, then more often than not they'll correct it because they care. Like they care more than the money. They care about their work. They care about what it represents. And so those people are just more likely to do what's right because it's right. And so that's the main thing I would say, like to find a good person who's passionate. And you find that by like, it's just this idea that you know, that like dealing with contractors is not as one dimensional as we would like it to be, right? So let's just say when you go out for a job, you go out for a job interview. When you go for a job interview, imagine if it went like this. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? You're like, hey, I'm Alex. What's your name? You give your name, and they're like, all right, well, here's what we need you to do, and let me know what you would charge to do that. And you're like, all right, well, I'll get you a price. They're like, all right, well, let us know when you got a price and get back to us. Like, that's kind of how people deal with contracts. It's like, okay, here's the job that I need you to do, and give me a price. But it's like, take time to like talk to these people, like to see what they are like, the same way you would talk to anybody else. Like, talk to them. Try to figure out if they're a good person, if their intentions are good. Like, when you go on a job interview and they're asking you questions, they're trying to feel you out, to feel if you're a good fit. Not only can you do the work, but more importantly, like what kind of person you are. So I feel like when people deal with contractors, a lot of times all you hear is like, oh, well, get 3 prices and, you know, take the middle one. But it's like, it goes a little deeper than that. It's like figuring out if somebody is a good person. Because the thing is that whether you say it or not, a contractor is going to know when you don't know what you're doing. And you pretty much have to find somebody who's not going to take advantage of the fact that you don't know. So that's not everybody. You know what I mean? And that's not a price-based decision 100%. Like, it's also about that person. So like my first contractor, he knows I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I'm just hanging around trying to learn. But because he was passionate about creating a good product, he didn't take advantage of that. And so you gotta like find good people. And I also put like reliable transportation, and preferably people that have money, because what happens is that you get a contractor, and some are not bad people, but just in tough situations. So like they'll jump jobs. Let's say they'll start your job, get a deposit, and then they're like trying to finish another job. So then they'll go back and take some of that money and do the job that they were working on previously. And then they're hoping to get paid from that job previously, now that they've done, to put the money back on your project and finish it. So like I've had more success with contractors who are somewhat, you know, financially able to sustain just staying on a project. Like, they just tend to jump jobs less. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily make their quality of work better, but it just means that they'll normally get in and out faster. And they normally will just like be at your job when they say they're going to be there. Now, another job or something can hold them up, yes. But typically, they won't jump jobs as much as a contractor who doesn't, you know, who doesn't have money, because he's just trying to like make payroll for the week. And again, I'm not saying it as like they're bad people. Sometimes they are good people. It's just what they have to do to stay afloat. And another thing about that part of it, it'll be a constant struggle with money, right? So the contractor will be trying to get as much from you as possible, because he kind of doesn't trust you, and you're trying to give as little as possible because you don't really trust him. But don't rush to prove yourself to them by giving them more money, because I've seen that happen too. It's like you want to prove to a contractor because you're like, hey, I have this good contractor. He's doing what he's supposed to do. So I want to prove to him that, you know, I'm a good investor and I'm paying on time. And so you like pay early to try to prove to him that, you know, you good for the money. And then it works inverse of the way you think it will work. It does more harm than good, because then if that contractor needs the money, he spends that money, then he's going to go where he can get more. Whereas if you owe him more on your job, then you'll have a tendency to keep him there a little longer. I mean, you'll have a tendency to keep him there or get him to come back a little faster, because he still has money to get from your job. So just remember that when you are trying to prove yourself, or, you know, prove yourself worthy, or you have this good contract and you don't want to lose him, so you're like, let me just give a little more so he knows that I'll pay. It typically doesn't really result in the work in a way that, you know, you'll probably assume it works. So be fair, pay what you owe, but also be tight, like be stringent and tight with the money that you're paying them. Like make sure that the work you're asking for to be done is done. So finding contractors. Again, specialty shops I think are really good for mechanicals, but also other things, but I'll just like focus more on mechanicals. So a specialty shop would be somewhere that only sells like certain materials, right? So a plumber will go to a plumbing supply house. So all they really sell is plumbing stuff. Electrician, normally they don't buy from like Home Depot, like all of their main materials. They buy it from somewhere that supplies only electrical materials. HVAC guy, the same. Like here we have Ari Michaels. A lot of people who are HVAC guys will go to like Ari Michaels or Goodman or somewhere. So I'll call those places. Hey, how you doing? My name is Alex. I'm an investor. I'm looking for a new plumber. Can you refer me like 3 people that come in there? They do a lot of work. You know, you think of quality plumbers. Like it's how I met my plumber. Or you can do the same for electrical places or plumbing places. HVAC places. Another source of referrals are from other investors, but I will caution that when you're getting referrals from other investors, remember that just because something works good for one person doesn't mean that it'll work good for you. Or like because somebody works good with one investor doesn't mean they'll work the same for you. Like I've had referrals from people, they're like, yeah, man, this guy is great. He's been doing this, that, and other. And it doesn't work for me. And sometimes it's not the quality of work. Sometimes it's the personality of the person or whatever it is. But I use the analogy of like, let's just say I'm your friend. And I'm like, hey, I got this girl or this guy I want you to meet. You know, whatever you're into. I got this girl, this guy I want you to meet. They're a good person, man. I've known them for a long time. They're a good person. It's like you wouldn't then go to that person and be like, hey, Alex said you're a good person. Like, let's be together. Let's be in a relationship. Like you would still vet that person and see if that person is for you. So you should do the same with contractors. Like make sure that contractor still is somebody who you feel like will work well for you because, again, just because they do, like my management style and your management style could be totally different. So they may work well for me and not for you. So Angie's List or places with reviews, I'll put like local social media group as well. But for the same reason, it's like you can go on, we have one here, it's like Baltimore Investors Network. It's a bunch of investors, landlords, wholesalers, rehabbers, everything. And you can go in there and type in like HVAC contractor or plumbing contractor. And you can see like somebody's like, hey, I use whatever. Somebody else might be like, stay away from, they're like, I use John's Plumbing. And then somebody else be like, I use John's Plumbing. John's Plumbing is shit. Like, stay away from John. And other people might be like, yeah, John's terrible. So the reason why I like those kind of forums is because it gives you like real-time opinion from other investors to say like, yeah, this person is great, or yeah, this person is horrible. And so that's why I like local social media groups, especially like on Facebook and things. I feel like most places have something like that, like some kind of group where all these like investors congregate. Excuse me. But like Angie's List also, they'll have contracts. Well, yeah, like an Angie's List is probably a little more expensive because most of those contractors are more of your retail contracts. But remember, like these first few deals, you have to be willing to give a little more. Like you can't be greedy. So Mark is going to talk about finding deals, the wholesaling part, and all of that stuff. So wholesaling, a big part of it is marketing. So ideally, you want to find a really good property with a really good spread where you can afford to hire like quality people and learn from them. That's the goal. Like you don't want to get into something where the margin is so thin that you're like, shit, I just got to like pick up some guys from Home Depot and hope that this gets done. Like you want to find the basis of this is finding a really good property with really good numbers so that you can hire really good people. And again, it's just your track record. The longer you do it, the cheaper finance will become, the more opportunities will become available to you. But in order to make sure you stay in the game, you want to buy it right and hire great people. Like the contractors are the key to I'm telling you, it's like probably 75% of people's problems I see that in a project is a contractor problem. So managing contractors, again, a detailed scope of work outlining everything that they're going to do. from beginning to end. You want to pretty much lay out what the project is going to look like and create a payment. Or if you have somebody who's doing another thing, just thought of. So when you find a general contractor that you like and you vet it and you feel like y'all work well together, you looked at their projects, you talked to their referrals, you went out to see their work, all that stuff. Normally, a lot of people say they do everything. People say they do everything because they don't want to lose the work. So what I like to do is, even with my guys who say, yeah, I can do everything, I control the mechanical. So I still use my same plumber, electrician, and HVAC guy on every job. Like, I move my guys to my projects to do that. Even on rentals, I still want my mechanicals to be good. So I may give away the rest of the project for the most part, but I won't give away that stuff. And the reason how I learned that is because on the first project I met my plumber on, that's what happened. I had a guy, he's like, yeah, I do everything, man. I do everything. Don't worry, I take it all. And we went to Home Depot. He brought like $300 in Shark Bites. Shark Bites are like what somebody who doesn't really know how to do plumbing use. I mean, all kinds. I'm like, hold on. I didn't know right from wrong, but I'm like, something ain't right with this. So that's how I got this idea to call around a plumber supply house and find a plumber, because this guy, I'm like, he don't know what the hell he's doing, man. But he was like, yeah, I can do everything. And maybe he could have got it done, but I don't want to take that chance. Like, you don't want to take the chance with those things. And again, he just wanted to work. So he didn't want to tell me he didn't know or didn't have somebody to do something, because he didn't want me to then go find somebody who really could do it all. So make sure that, like, you're clear, like, hey, if you don't have somebody, I have somebody that can do X, Y, and Z. You know, and again, the inspection part of that will help alleviate some of those concerns. But I'm just saying, a lot of people say that they do that. So if they're like, yeah, I can do it all. Say, well, who's your plumber? Is he licensed? Is he electrician licensed? All that stuff. So as I said again, never pay them too much up front. Break it down in smaller draws with milestones along the way. So, like, let's just say a project is $50,000 and you're giving it to one guy. He's probably going to ask for like a third up front, right? So I would probably break that down some. Like, I wouldn't give a complete stranger whatever that is, maybe like $17,000 or whatever. I wouldn't give a complete stranger that, right? I would be like, look, let's break this down. Like, I'll give you maybe 5. And then you do this, this, and this, and I'll give you another 5. And you know what I mean? So that way you're not so far behind. If you just give him a check for $15,000, he disappears, like you just shit out of luck. You know what I mean? You want to always kind of like try to mitigate some of that risk. And the way you mitigate some of your risk on the project is by controlling the money. You control the flow of the money. You controlling your risk to a degree on the project. And like I said, you can give them like a time frame. So if you're like, all right, I need to get out of this project in 3 months, instead of just saying like, all right, you got 3 months to do this house, you can be a little more diligent. Like, all right, so what are you going to do this week? Maybe every week, you have that meeting with them. What are you going to do this week? And they're like, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then you're checking those milestones along the way so that you don't look up and you're like 4 weeks behind. You're like, all right, so you're going to do tile work this week. You're going to do trim this week. And it's like, if one thing doesn't get done, you're like, well, you told me you have tile and trim done. It's like, it kind of gives you a gauge on like where you are in the project. So renovation, I won't spend a ton of time on this, but this is kind of like the order that I kind of do things in. And again, like I was telling y'all about that one house that I had with like the crackhead and all this shit that happened to me and how I messed up. It's like, I had no idea like what this process looks like how a house should come together from beginning to end. And so he kind of like just, he could do like put a kitchen cabinet in with a sink and like put 3 windows in. It was like no draw schedule, no like concept of what the process should look like. So this kind of like outlines the process. And then also in this, I added like in Baltimore City specifically where we require inspections at. So it's like demo, framing, inspection. And then I normally do like the masonry stuff. So then I jump into like my exterior items that are needed to kind of do what I consider being under roof. So actually in exterior items, you can add roof as well. So I'll do like roof, the windows, the side, the exterior doors. So then after that, like I'm under roof. Like under roof meaning like protected from the elements, and I can work on the inside of the house. So, once you're under roof and you got like you start like your plumbing, your HVAC, your electrical, there are times where maybe like my windows haven't got delivered yet and I have to start on that stuff. But ideally when I get to systems, I'm already kind of like closed in. So then my plumber, HVAC, electrician can work. Now, the thing with roof is if I have a pretty good roof on there, then I'll normally wait until my plumber and HVAC do their stuff because they have to make penetrations in the roof for like the vent. The HVAC guy runs the vents for the fans for the bathroom, like vent fans, and the plumber runs the vents for the toilets, and they both got to go out of the roof. So I'll wait for those guys to do that first, and then I'll have like my roofer come. But if the roof is like really bad and I need to tear it off and do a new roof, then I'll typically do that ahead, and then I just call my roofer back out and let him know like, hey, you'll have to make one more trip because I need you to flash the penetrations. So then once I'm on the roof, I do like the insulation, then the drywall, and then I do actually alternate 10 and 11. So I do my interior doors and trim, and then I do my paint, prime, and point up. Point up is like, so after you hang the drywall, I do my interior doors and trim, and then I prime the whole house, like prime coat. And after I prime it, the drywall guy comes back and he just points all the imperfections up. Him and I go through, point up all the imperfections. I'll point it out. And then my painter will come back and paint his first coat. And then I do like tile, cabinets, hardwood floors, carpet, punch out. And then there's another inspection at the end, which is my final building and my use and occupancy inspection. So again, I mean, the main thing is like getting a good grasp on like contractors, working with contractors, picking the right people to work with. And as far as the no money part of it, no credit, like I'm about to let Mark get on, but I'll tell you guys, like it's changed my life. Like I'm not saying it's easy to find these people. It's not going to be, anytime you're asking people to invest money, it's not necessarily going to be easy to do that, but it's possible. It's a lot of people out here who have money that they want to invest, and they're looking for somebody to invest in. The only thing that would stop them from doing that is just knowledge. So like the more knowledge you get, and the more you come across as knowing what you're doing, it's like, and once you do one or two, like the opportunities keep coming up, and they coming up. Like it is for sure more people that would want to partner with me than I have like time to do projects with. And you'll get to that point. It's like it's just a track record. It's like anything else. It's like once you prove you can do something once the first time is going to be the hardest time, which is why I'm like, don't cut corners. Like do not cut corners. Do not hire necessarily the cheapest person or the first person that comes along. Like take your time. Use the time you have before you find somebody, invest to do due diligence to find a good person to work with. Like be very, very cautious about like who you decide to go with. And the reason why a lot of times we make those bad decisions is because we are under time pressure. So you wait until you find somebody who wants to invest money, or you find a house, and then it's like you need to find a contractor right away. Like you can take your time on that. Like take your time, figure out who you want to work with, talk to people, understand what kind of people they are. Like I said, you want people who are the kind of people that if nobody's looking, they're going to do the right thing. If that's not the person that you find, then that's not the person you want to take a chance of working with. Like if nobody's around and they like, oh shit, I did this, and in order to fix this, I got to go back and do this. And if that's not the person you have, then that's not who you want on your job. Like if my guy come in and he sees the work that his guys have done, if he sees it, I don't need to point it out. He'll be like, hey man, like look what they did. Why'd they do that? That's stupid. They got to come fix that. Like that's what you want. You want somebody who walk in, and if you don't see it, they're like, oh, why did he do that? Like, we got to fix that. You know what I mean? It's like those are the quality of people you want to work with. And then when you find these quality people, another thing I'll say, and I'm taking up a lot of time, sorry, but another thing I'll say is that when you find these kind of people, they're also people you can ask for other contractors. Because I find that normally good contractors would only refer good contractors. Like they hate fucking contractors who do shitty work because they don't believe in that. Like they believe in doing what's right. So a lot of times they won't refer people who they don't feel like that person does good work. But again, remember, it's like somebody referring you somebody to date. Don't just accept that at face value. Always ask your own questions. Always, excuse me, I drink my water. Always ask your own questions. Always get to know that person on your own. But normally those people are, a good source of reliable people, because normally people who do good work I would only refer a contractor who I feel like does good work. If I feel like I don't know somebody that does good work in that department, I'll be like, I don't really have anybody. So normally, good people refer good people. But do your due diligence. Don't accept any of that at face value. So I will let Mark jump on. Mark? I think I ran over a little bit.
Thank you, Alex. All right. Real quick before we get right. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Come on now.
All right. So what y'all think about Alex's presentation? Did you get some good information or what? All right, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Type yes if you can hear me. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just type yes. Type yes if you can hear me.
Where the fuck can you type that?
Nobody can hear me. All right, we're about to get started in a second, everybody. One second. Hello. Oh, my mic not working.
The mic works.
Oh, no. Oh, there it is. It's connected. If you can hear me, type yes.
We can't type.
Type yes if you can hear me. Type yes if you can hear me.
If you don't stop this shit, don't you know the fucking thing you're using?
All right, just making sure I'm not having any issues with the system right now. Can somebody go on Instagram on my last post and just type yes if you can hear me? Okay, everybody can hear me. I don't know why I'm not seeing it, but all right. So everybody said they can hear me, so good. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward. So I was telling everybody that Alex and we're gonna be offering 6-month coaching. Here's a little bit about it real fast before I get into it to my presentation. So basically, what we're doing is a 6-month coaching program, and basically this is what you're going to get. This is what it's going to look like, right? We're going to do it's going basically every week, right? Wait a minute, hold on one second. Let me do something real quick. All right, so every week we're gonna be doing a training every week for 6 months, right? So basically, we're gonna do 2 live trainings, just like we're doing now, right? A month, and 2 live Q&A coaching calls. So every week we're going to be doing something. So week 1 will be a training. Week 2 will be a Q&A. Week 3 will be a training. Week 4 will be a Q&A. We'll do Q&As after the training as well, but we do the Q&As once a week that, for everybody that got their questions kind of, so that way you guys can keep in touch with us as you're going through the process, building your business, starting your business. We're going to be taking you from pretty much A to Z, holding your hand through it with this coaching program. So not only that, but you also, excuse me, you also going to get 2 on-site house evaluation training classes in Baltimore. So basically, we're going to be over the 6 months. We're going to be holding 2 on-site house evaluation trainings where you'll pretty much come to Baltimore with me and Alex. We're going to walk you through houses, show you how to, estimate the repairs, what you need to look for, the order in which you need to do things, working with plumbers, electricians, things like that. We'll have them come on out too, so that way you can get some information from them as well. All right, so that's going to be a really good class that you definitely don't want to miss, and we're going to give you more information on that for the folks that do sign up, and space is limited. So if you are interested in taking advantage of this, you can go to realestatemoneyclub.com/coaching. Again, we're only taking a few people, but also you're going to get access to me and Alex's private and hard money lenders to fund your deals if needed. Because if you're going to take the other route where you're partnering with people, you won't need it. But well, actually, you will, because you could partner with the private lenders. Those are people you can partner with. But at any rate, we'll be giving you access to those. You'll also get access to we're going to put together a private Facebook mastermind group so you can network with the other students in the 6-month program so everybody can stay in touch and things like that. All right. You're also going to get recordings of all the live webinars and the Q&A coaching calls that you're going to be able to keep forever. So it's kind of like a library of information that you can always have. We're also going to videotape the house evaluation training. So that way, when you come to the house evaluation training, if you miss anything, you're going to get the recording of it. We're going to videotape that for you as well. You're also going to get me and Alex's daily evaluation. We have like the secret calculator, which helps you calculate, your deals to perfection. And also you're going to get 1 month free access to your very own automated house flipping software. So again, it's going to be a lot more than that too. It's going to be a really great 6-month coaching program. So, if you're serious about this business and you want to work with me and Alex, more closely, I definitely guarantee that you need to do this. So go on over to realestatemoneyclub.com right now /coaching. We can only take a limited amount of people. So again, if you want to work with us more on the one-on-one aspect, within the group, then go ahead over there and sign up. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to get into to my piece. All right. So let's talk a little bit about myself, right? So I'm Mark Whitten, for those of you who don't know. For those of you who do know, what's going on, everybody? All right, so yeah, I've done over $1 million+ in real estate transactions in my over 10+ years of investing in real estate. I'm also a no money down, no credit check expert. I'm a landlord as well. I also wholesale. That's how I started out in real estate, actually wholesaling, which is what I'm gonna talk to you guys about tonight. I'm also a community leader. You already know, educate the community, empower the community. And I'm also a real estate coach. I've been teaching people how to do deals successfully for over 10 years. That's documented. You can go on my YouTube. That's youtube.com /Mark Buys Houses. And you can see my testimonials pretty much everywhere. So, that's what I do. I do deals and I teach people how to do them as well. So that's a little bit about me. So I want to get right into it because I probably need about 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours of your time. We'll probably end up wrapping up probably about 11:30, maybe something like that. I'll try to get done a little bit earlier because right after that, we're going to go into this $50,000 cash giveaway. And honestly, I'm just so excited about that because somebody's life is going to change tonight. I mean, this is amazing. Everybody has the same opportunity to win this money. So if you're listening right now and you're excited about it, just know that that person could be you. Okay, whoever that person is going to be the same person feeling that excitement, and it's just going to be amazing. So I can't wait to do it. I just can't wait to do it. So I'm going to keep it moving. All right. But the information is valuable too. All right. I want you to take these steps that I'm giving you to start your business and get out here and get some deals done. You know what I mean? And again, like I said, you know, if you feel the need that you need more coaching and you want to work with me and Alex for the next 6 months within our 6-month coaching program, then go right over to realestatemoneyclub.com/coaching. That's where you can grab one of the spots. Okay. Now, let me move forward. All right. So we're gonna talk about setting up your business real quick, right? And I know there's a lot of people on the call that haven't taken any of my trainings, haven't gotten any of the courses. So I gotta take you from pretty much from the beginning to show you exactly what you need to get your real estate business up and running. All right. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to set your business up, right? And what I tell people is the first thing to do is go to your local UPS store and set up a personal mailbox. And I say a personal mailbox because it's cheaper than a business mailbox. And we're investors. That's what we do. We invest. So we want to try to save as much money as possible, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying to go set up a mailbox is because when you go get your LLC, you know, you want to be able to use the post offices. The UPS store address instead of your own personal address, just to kind of keep it out of, you know, public record, you know, where you live and stuff like that, right? You can also set up a virtual mailbox. If you go to a website called ipostal1.com, it says it right here. You can go over to the website there. You can get your own digital mailbox. Again, this is that way when you go to create your LLC or your limited liability company, which we're going to talk about in a second, you don't use your own address. All right. So first thing you want to do, this is all stuff you can go do tomorrow. You can go to the UPS store and you can get a personal mailbox to use as your address, or you can set up a virtual mailbox at ipostal1.com. Again, this is because you're about to set up your limited liability company or your LLC, which is your business. All right. And you need that first. All right. Now, let's talk about creating your LLC, right? I tell people all the time, you know, like Google is your friend, right? So like you can go into Google and you can type, for me, I'm in Maryland, right? So I would just put in like Maryland State Department form LLC or something like that, right? And then it'll come up, it'll tell me, you know, you see here it says register your business online, maryland.gov, right? But you can put it in for any state that you're in, Florida, you know, California, Texas, North Carolina, wherever you at, just take out Maryland where you see Maryland and put your state, and you can find the website where you can get your LLC, form your LLC. You know, I wouldn't really recommend doing like a legal Zoom or anything like that because really they just charging you extra money to do things that you could really do yourself. So I wouldn't do that. All right. But so that's what you want to do. It's real simple. You just go, like I said, hey, you go, you know, we're talking about creating your LLC, your limited liability company. Just go to Google, put your state in, and just put Florida State Department Form LLC, North Carolina State Department Form LLC, you know, something like that, right? Now, I put in another one right here because I Googled Florida as well. As you see, it said the second one, it says Limited Liability Company, Florida State Department of State, and that's at myflorida.com, Sunbiz Forms. If you're in Florida, you can use this link actually right here, all right? And then I also put one for Georgia as well. See that? The third one, creating a new entity, Georgia Secretary of State. So again, you know, just put in your state where it belongs, and then you can go to where you need to fill out your, do your LLC. And if you got any questions about it, I mean, you can always just call down there and ask. You know, just say, hey, I'm new starting the LLC. You know, I may need a little help, you know, getting it started or whatever, and they'll help you out. All right. So when you create your LLC, right, you're going to get two LLCs. I tell people all the time. I call it a main LLC, and I call it a flippable LLC or LLC that you can assign, right? So let's talk about the main one first. Your main LLC, right, is going to be your business, your actual business, right? So, you know, when you go out here and you do a deal, say you wholesale a deal, meaning you find a house, get it well below market value under contract, and then you find another investor that may pay you, say, $7,000, right? Then you're going to do that in your main LLC, which could be, for example, I got Community Home Buyers LLC, and then you'll get a check, you know, in that name, and then you can go put it in your account, which is the reason why I have one here. Open up a bank account. But then you see the address, it says 3717 Flamingo Road, Charlotte, North Carolina. I just put Charlotte, North Carolina. So that address right there will be the address of your say your UPS store. But what I forgot to put in here is that it will be a suite number. So it'll be like 3717 Flamingo Road number 367 or something like that, right? That's just your store, your UPS store, your virtual mailbox, whatever, right? And then the owner is, Mark Witten or whatever your name is. You'll be the owner. So now what you're going to do is now you got to go and get an EIN number, right? And you can go on irs.gov to do so. Or what you can do is you can go to your bank and you can have them. I don't know if every bank will do it, but I know my banker does it for me. She just goes on irs.gov for me and gets my EIN number, which is your pretty much your IRS number for taxes, right? And that's pretty much your main LLC. So now you're up and running. All right. Your business is, say, Community Home Buyers LLC, or you might want to call it, if your last name is, say, Johnson Home Buyers LLC. That's your brand. That's what you're repping. Like, that's what you're getting your checks made out to, right? Now, you also want to do another LLC, right, where you look at the second part where I say create your assignable LLC. So, for example, it may be 123 House LLC. The address is going to be the exact same as the other address, because you're just going to use that same address, all right, from your UPS store or your virtual mailbox. Now, as you see here, it says no bank account. The reason why it's no bank account is because you're going to end up selling this LLC to somebody else. Now, let me give you an example real quick, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little bit more in the presentation, right? But you're going to come across deals where you're not going to be able to assign your wholesale deals. Well, let me say this for those of you who don't know. Again, right now, we're going to get into wholesaling houses, right? And that's finding houses well below market value, getting them under contract, or in a sense, doing a contract with the seller, and then assigning that contract to somebody else without using none of your cash or credit for a profit. So, for example, you may get a house under contract for $100,000, and then you may find someone else, another investor, that'll pay $109,000 for it, and then you'll take your $100,000 contract and assign it to that other investor for $9,000, right? So, so that's pretty much what I mean by when I say wholesaling, right? So let me go back to the assignable LLC. Hold on one second.
Because you're confusing. Assignable.
All right, I'm back. So what I was saying was, this assignable LLC. Let me give you an example. Let's say, well, first of all, if you put in because it's two ways you can get. I might jump all over the place, but just follow me. Make sure y'all taking notes, right? It's two ways to get deals, right? You can either get them through a real estate agent, or you can get them directly to from a motivated seller. A motivated seller is somebody who's motivated to sell their house for whatever reason. It could be, they inherited a house, or they could be behind on taxes, behind on their mortgage, a divorce, stuff like that, right? And hold on one second. Hold on, let me get some water. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on, nigga. Well, it take 3 hours.
All right. So real estate agents and investors, right? We're all doing the same thing. We're all looking for deals, right? So a real estate agent might beat you to a deal, right? So let's say we're both looking for deals. I'm an investor. Let's say person John Smith is an agent. We're both looking for deals, right? So if we mail in the same people, and then somebody calls them and not me, then they get the deal, but they're just trying to pretty much still sell it. They're going to do a listing agreement. I'm trying to do a contract. They're trying to do a listing agreement to sell it. I'm saying all that to say I can still go through them to get the deal. Now, with all that in mind, right, let's just say I go get a deal through this real estate agent. The first thing I want you to know is that a real estate agent's contract is non-assignable by nature unless you cross the line out and change it, which is pretty rare a lot of the times. So I'm saying to say you're going to go into contract with your assignable LLC, all right, because you're not going to be able to assign the contract. So you got to assign the LLC. But let me give you a better example, right? Let's just say that you're doing a short sale, right? Which is a pre-foreclosure, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. And you may put in an offer on this pre-foreclosure in the bank, because you're dealing with the bank. The bank may come back and accept it, but say you got to own the house for, say, 90 days before you can resell it, right? And that's called title seasoning. So if you do a contract with a real estate agent, right, and it's a short sale, and the bank says that you have to own it for 90 days, and you can't assign your contract because then you sold it right away. You didn't hold it for 90 days. So what you got to do is you have to sell your LLC, because if you sell your LLC or assign your LLC to another investor, then that means the buyer never changes, and you can still make your money by selling the LLC. And you do that using what's called an LLC assignment contract. So again, you want to create two LLCs. You want to have a main LLC, and that's when you're going to just be buying and selling. If you're buying rentals, grab some rentals, whatever. But if you're gonna also need that other LLC that you can assign, because you'll come into situations like that where you're not going to be able to assign the contract. You're going to have to sell the LLC for a profit. Okay. Now, let's talk about getting your direct mail postcards made, because what we're talking about. All right, so now pretty much you got your LLC, you got your business up and running. And now you're ready to start marketing for deals, right? You are looking now. Your main job as an investor is pretty much to find a deal. Like, you want to find, houses that are well below market value. Like, if you're taking this business serious, your main focus, your main goal is to be finding people who are potentially motivated to sell their house. You're looking for distressed houses. You should be train your brain. It's all about mindset. Like, when you get off this train tonight, tomorrow, all you should be thinking is, how can I come across people who are motivated to sell their house? Because if somebody's motivated to sell their house, likely you can get it below market value and be able to profit without using any of your cash or credit if you're going to assign your contract on a wholesale deal. Or even if you want to, do the fix and flip or buy and hold or whatever. So we're going to talk about marketing to motivated sellers, pretty much getting your phone to ring. These are things that you can do tomorrow. All right. So what I want everybody to do tomorrow is, I want you to go to your local Staples Copy Center. All right. And when you go to your local Staples Copy Center, I want you to get a pack of yellow cardstock paper, right? And I got pictures of what it looks like right here, right? The weight is going to be it's like 250 sheets in the pack, and the weight is 110. That's the type of paper you're going to get, all right? Now, once you get that paper, you're going to take it over to the Copy and Print Center, and you're going to get the store email address. The reason why I'm saying get the store email address is this, and you'll see when you get there. They're going to try to give you a Staples at print me at staples.com or something like that. And what happens is, if you send because what you're going to do is you're going to send them this postcard template, right? So let me